The Terran Exploration Consortium never sent anyone to Argon Prime. Not a single soul had stepped foot on its surface since its discovery. The planet had earned its reputation as a death world for good reason. Its entire ecosystem had evolved specifically to kill anything that dared intrude upon it, which was precisely why Dr. Maria Santos couldn't wait to go. "Volunteer, you say?" Commander Jeffries raised an eyebrow at her application. "That's one way of putting it. Your colleagues practically shoved your name forward." Maria smiled. "They recognize my expertise in xenobiology, and perhaps my willingness to accept certain risks." The commander flipped through her file. 27 published papers on hostile alien ecosystems, 3 expeditions to Venus's deepest caverns. That incident with the Martian spore clusters. He looked up. "Still, Argon Prime is different. We've lost 17 drones to its surface. The longest survived 4 hours before something dissolved it." "All the more reason to send someone who can adapt in real time," Maria replied. "Machines follow programming. I follow instinct." 2 months later, she found herself aboard the Krillian observation station, orbiting 3,000 kilometers above Argon Prime's emerald and rust-colored surface. The Krillians, a species known for their calculating intellect and dispassionate observation, had been monitoring the planet for the consortium under a scientific exchange agreement. Captain Lesta, a tall Krillian with 4 eyes, set in horizontal formation across her elongated face, watched Maria prepare her landing gear. "Interesting," she noted to her companions. "The human shows minimal stress indicators, either remarkable control or remarkable ignorance." Ensign Rytha snorted, a whistling sound through his breathing slits. "How long do you wager this one will last?" "I'm setting the pool at 3 hours maximum." The 4-eyed Krillian biologist Zorath barely looked up from his data tablet. "The landing zone shows 37 Class 4 predatory species within a 100-meter radius. The human's heat signature alone will attract at least 12 immediately." "So," Rytha's mouth parts twitched in what passed for a Krillian smile. 2 hours then?" Maria ignored their commentary as she checked her suit's integrity for the 5th time. The transparent helmet allowed full visibility while filtering Argon Prime's toxic atmosphere. Her suit was reinforced with lightweight carbon mesh, not enough to stop a determined predator, but sufficient to protect against environmental hazards. Various scanners, collection tools, and emergency medical equipment hung from her utility belt. "Your extraction beacon is functional," Captain Lesta informed her. "Though I remind you that our retrieval craft requires 45 minutes to reach the surface after activation." "Understood," Maria nodded. "I've studied the orbital scans. There's a clearing approximately 2 kilometers from the landing zone that should serve as an emergency extraction point." "Assuming you reach it," Rytha muttered. "The consortium appreciates your cooperation," Maria said politely. "Your station's observation data has been invaluable in preparation." The Krillians had been cataloging Argon Prime's horrors for 3 years. Their scanners had identified over 4,000 species, most of which exhibited predatory characteristics. The planet seemed to have evolved as one massive competition for apex status: plants that consumed animals, animals that consumed plants, and everything consuming everything else in an endless cycle of predation. Maria boarded the landing pod. It was barely larger than a coffin, a comparison she deliberately pushed from her mind. As the airlock sealed, she heard Zorath's final comment. "Humans. Fascinating how they balance scientific curiosity against self-preservation. A paradox of evolutionary strategy." The descent was violent, but controlled. Maria had experienced worse during her Venus expeditions. The pod burst through Argon Prime's cloud layer, revealing a landscape both beautiful and terrifying. Vast emerald forests spread across rolling plains, interspersed with ruby-red lakes and jet-black rock formations that resembled skeletal remains of enormous creatures. The landing was rougher than expected, Maria's head knocked against her helmet as the pod slammed into the surface, its retro thrusters failing to fully compensate for Argon Prime's higher than anticipated gravity. A warning light flashed. The pod's return capabilities were compromised. She was now committed to calling for extraction when her work was done, or when something tried to eat her. Maria waited 60 seconds, allowing her scanners to sample the atmosphere outside. The readings confirmed what the Krillians had reported: oxygen levels sufficient for human respiration, but laced with compounds that would cause rapid neurological deterioration without her helmet's filters. She activated her communication link. Santos to Krillian Station. Successful landing. Beginning preliminary survey. Captain Lesta's voice crackled in response. Confirmed. Human. Our scanners show 33 potential predators have already begun moving toward your position. Recommend immediate data collection and extraction request. Noted, Maria replied calmly. I'll establish a perimeter and begin sampling. She unsealed the pod and took her first step onto Argon Prime. The ground was surprisingly springy, covered in what appeared to be moss, but felt more like flesh. Her scanner immediately identified it as a colonial organism that digested anything that died upon it. Charming. Maria methodically deployed sensor stakes around a 20-meter perimeter, creating an early warning system. Her biological scanner hummed continuously, cataloging every organism it detected. The readouts were extraordinary, life forms using biochemical processes never before documented, cellular structures that defied conventional taxonomy. She knelt to collect soil samples, carefully preserving them in hermetically sealed containers. The science was fascinating enough that she almost forgot the danger. Movement detected, her scanner warned suddenly. Large organism approaching from north-northwest. Mass estimate, approximately 800 kilograms. From the Krillian Station, Ensign Rytha watched through the orbital scanners. It's coming now. Signature matches the dominant apex predator from Region 4. The human is about to become a statistic. Interesting, Zorath noted. The human's vital signs show elevated awareness, but not panic. She's continuing to collect samples even as the predator approaches. Captain Lesta leaned forward. Activate the high-resolution imaging. I want to see this. Maria heard the creature before she saw it. A low vibration through the ground, like distant thunder growing closer. She slowly straightened, placing her soil collection tools back into their sealed compartments. Her hand hovered near the emergency beacon but didn't activate it. Not yet. The creature emerged from the tree line. It was magnificent in its terrible beauty. Standing nearly 3 meters tall at the shoulder, it moved on 4 powerful limbs, each ending in claws that could easily disembowel a human with a single swipe. Its skin was black with metallic blue highlights that shifted as it moved, creating a disorienting visual effect. 6 eyes, arranged in a semicircle across its elongated head, glowed with a deep crimson intensity. A ridge of what appeared to be sensory organs ran down its spine, twitching independently as they sampled the air. Maria's scanner went wild, alarms cascading as it detected pheromones, elevated electromagnetic readings, and heat signatures all pointing to one conclusion. This creature was the apex predator of the region, and it had detected her. Santos. Captain Lesta's voice was tight with what might have been concern. Your extraction beacon is not activated. The predator is within lethal striking distance. I see it, Maria replied softly, barely moving her lips. It's perfect. The creature stalked closer, its movement unexpectedly graceful for its size. Maria remained motionless, watching, observing. Her years of fieldwork had taught her that running often triggered chase responses. Sometimes, stillness was the better option. As it drew nearer, Maria noticed something. The creature was injured. A large gash ran across its right shoulder, seeping a viscous dark fluid that her scanner identified as hemolymph. its blood. The wound appeared fresh, likely from conflict with another predator. The creature stopped 10 meters away, its 6 eyes fixed on Maria, its sensory ridge flattened against its spine, a defensive posture, or preparation to attack. "It's going to charge," Rytha stated with certainty from the safety of orbit. "The human should have activated her beacon 2 minutes ago." "Wait," Zorath interrupted, his 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession as he analyzed the data. "The predator's behavior pattern is atypical. It's displaying hesitation." Maria's mind raced through possibilities. The creature was injured. It had sought her out specifically. Her landing hadn't been quiet, and her scent was undoubtedly alien to this ecosystem. Yet it wasn't attacking immediately. Was it assessing her as a threat, as potential prey, or was something else happening? Making a decision that the Krillians would later describe as either brilliant or suicidal. Maria slowly reached for her medical kit. "What is she doing?" Captain Lesta demanded. "Our database shows that creature has killed every probe we've sent into its territory." Maria extracted a universal healing gel, a nanite-infused compound designed to temporarily stabilize wounds across various biochemistries until proper treatment could be administered. It was standard emergency equipment for xenobiologists, though usually used on themselves, not on apex predators. The creature made a low, rumbling sound as Maria took a careful step forward. Its 6 eyes tracked her movement, but it didn't retreat or charge. The wound on its shoulder seemed to pulse with each breath it took. "I'm going to try something," Maria said quietly into her communicator. "If it kills me, make sure the consortium gets my data." "Human, this is ill-advised," Captain Lesta responded. "That creature's biochemistry is unknown. Your medical compounds may provoke aggression." Maria took another step. The creature's sensory ridge quivered but remained flat. 7 meters separated them now. "I think it's in pain," Maria whispered. "It sought me out, but not to hunt. I think it might be seeking help." The Krillians fell silent, watching the impossible scenario unfold. Another step. The massive creature suddenly lowered itself, dropping to its equivalent of knees. The movement was so unexpected that Maria froze, certain an attack was imminent. But the creature remained there, its injured shoulder now more prominently displayed, its 6 eyes still fixed on her. "By the void," Zorath breathed. "It's presenting its wound." Maria approached with slow, deliberate movements. At 3 meters distance, she could smell the creature, a musky, metallic scent that her filters partially blocked. Its breathing was labored, each exhale carrying a rumble that vibrated through her boots. "I'm going to help you," she said softly, knowing the creature couldn't understand her words but hoping her tone might convey her intent. "Stay calm." The creature's eyes blinked in sequence, creating a rippling effect across its face. It remained motionless as Maria closed the final distance. Standing beside the massive predator, Maria felt minuscule. One swipe of its claws could end her. Yet something told her. Instinct, perhaps, or the patterns she'd observed in countless alien species, that this creature wasn't going to harm her. She examined the wound closely. It was deep, exposing layers of muscle and what appeared to be a secondary circulatory system. Something with impressive strength had pierced the creature's armored hide. The edges of the wound showed signs of infection, or whatever passed for infection in Argon Prime's biology. Maria carefully applied the healing gel, expecting the creature to flinch or recoil at the touch of the cool substance. Instead, it remained perfectly still, its breathing steadying as the gel made contact with the wound. "The nanites are responding to its biochemistry," Maria reported, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "The gel is adhering properly. Initial cellular regeneration appears to be initiating." On the Krillian station, the observers watched in stunned silence. "This defies all behavioral models," Zorath finally said. We've observed this species hunting in packs, engaging in territorial disputes, even cannibalism during resource scarcity. But this, seeking aid from an alien species, this is unprecedented. Perhaps it's not as simple as predator and prey, Captain Lesta mused. Perhaps there's something more complex happening on Argon Prime than we realized. The creature made a sound, not the threatening rumble from before, but something softer, almost like a purr. As Maria finished applying the gel and took a step back, the creature did something that would change xenobiology forever. It curled its massive body, twisting with unexpected flexibility, and brought its head down near Maria's level. One of its 6 eyes, the lowest, closest to Maria, dilated, the crimson glow softening to amber. And then, in a movement that seemed impossibly gentle for such a massive predator, it pressed its head against Maria's side. Like a child seeking comfort from its mother, Maria stood frozen, afraid any movement might break this extraordinary moment. The creature's sensory ridge extended slightly, brushing against her suit with delicate precision. It made that purring sound again, vibrating against her. "Santos?" Captain Lesta's voice seemed distant. "Your vitals show elevated endorphin levels. Are you injured?" "No," Maria whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "No, I'm being accepted." Slowly, with movements that felt both natural and alien. Maria raised her gloved hand and placed it on the creature's head. Its skin was warm and surprisingly soft between the armored plates. The creature closed all 6 eyes simultaneously, the purring intensifying. "It's thanking me," Maria said, wonder filling her voice. "It sought me out for help, and now it's bonding." "Impossible," Rytha stated flatly. "Apex predators don't bond with potential prey." "And yet," Zorath replied, "we are witnessing exactly that." The creature maintained contact for nearly 5 minutes. Its massive body curled protectively around Maria's much smaller form. When it finally straightened, rising once more to its impressive height, Maria felt a momentary pang of loss. The connection had been brief, but profound. The creature took several steps back. Its eyes now all returned to their crimson hue. It made a different sound, a short, sharp call that echoed through the clearing. Then, with one final look at Maria, it turned and disappeared back into the tree line. Maria exhaled, suddenly aware she'd been holding her breath. "It's gone," she reported. "But I don't think permanently." "You should activate your extraction beacon immediately," Captain Lesta advised. "This temporary behavior anomaly may not persist." "No," Maria replied firmly. "This is the discovery of a lifetime. I need to document this, to understand what just happened." She spent the next hour collecting additional samples and recording her observations. Her scanner continued to detect large life forms moving around the perimeter of the clearing, but none approached. It was as if the area had been designated as safe, or perhaps claimed. As twilight began to fall on Argon Prime, Maria's scanner detected multiple large signatures approaching from the same direction the injured creature had departed. She tensed, preparing to finally activate her extraction beacon. 3 massive shapes emerged from the trees. They resembled the creature she had treated, but with variations in size and the patterns on their armored hides. The largest, nearly twice the size of the injured one, led the group, its sensory ridge fully extended and alert. "Santos, extraction recommended." Captain Lesta's voice was urgent. "These readings match the dominant mated pair from this territory, plus 1 subadult. They're approaching an attack formation." Maria stood her ground, though her hand moved to the extraction beacon. "Let's see what they do first." The 3 creatures fanned out, creating a semicircle around Maria. Their sensory ridges twitched in unison, sampling her scent. The largest one, presumably the alpha, stepped forward. Lowering its head to Maria's level, just as the injured one had done earlier. It sniffed her suit, paying particular attention to her hands, the hands that had applied the healing gel. Then it made a sound, different from the injured creature's call, but with similar tonal qualities. From behind the three newcomers, a familiar shape appeared, the injured creature. It moved with greater ease now, the healing gel having stabilized its wound. It approached Maria directly, ignoring the others, and once again curled its body to press its head against her side. Their family, Maria realized aloud. A family unit, and they've accepted me because I helped one of their young... The largest creature, which Maria now suspected was the injured one's parent, made another sound, and all four creatures settled onto the ground around Maria, creating a protective circle. By all logical analysis, this shouldn't be happening, Zorath commented from orbit. These creatures have torn apart every probe we've sent. They've been documented fighting to the death over territory. Yet they're treating this human as... what? A healer? A member of their pack? Perhaps, Captain Lesta replied thoughtfully. Our understanding of apex predator has been too limited. Perhaps intelligence and social complexity exist in forms we haven't recognized. As night fell on Argon Prime, Maria found herself in an unprecedented situation, surrounded by and protected by creatures that should, by all scientific understanding, have killed her immediately. She carefully set up her camp within their circle, and the creatures watched with evident curiosity as she established her equipment. I'm going to name the injured one, Maria told the Krillian observers. Kira. It means beloved child in my grandmother's language. Throughout the night, Kira remained closest to Maria, occasionally making that purring sound. The others took turns patrolling the perimeter, keeping other predators at bay. Maria recorded everything, taking readings of their biology, their vocalizations, their behaviors. By morning, Maria had formed a hypothesis. These creatures aren't just predators, she explained to the increasingly fascinated Krillian scientists. They're intelligent, social beings with complex family structures. My helping Kira wasn't just interpreted as non-threatening. It was interpreted as caregiving behavior, something they recognize and value. Over the next week, Maria's extraction beacon remained unactivated. The consortium, initially alarmed, became increasingly intrigued by her reports and the Krillians' observations. What had begun as a simple ecological survey had transformed into first contact with an intelligent alien species. Maria learned to interpret some of the creature's vocalizations and body language. Kira's wound healed rapidly, the nanites in the gel having adapted successfully to its biology. The family accepted Maria's presence not just as a temporary curiosity, but as a permanent addition. They're teaching me about their environment, Maria reported on the 8th day. Kira has been showing me which plants are dangerous, which water sources are safe. It's deliberate instruction. Captain Lesta, who had initially been skeptical, now regularly participated in analyzing Maria's findings. We've been observing Argon Prime for 3 years and misinterpreted everything. We saw only predation and violence because that's what we expected to see. The implications are profound, Zorath added. If these creatures possess this level of intelligence and social structure, how many other species have we misclassified throughout the galaxy? On the 15th day, Maria made a breakthrough, using a series of simple visual symbols projected from her equipment. She established rudimentary communication with Kira and its family. They could indicate yes, no, danger, safety, food, and several other basic concepts. They're learning faster than I am, Maria marveled. Their cognitive abilities are remarkable. By the end of the first month, the consortium had sent additional supplies via drop pod, carefully placed far enough away not to threaten the creatures, but close enough for Maria to retrieve with Kira's help. The supplies included more advanced communication tools, medical equipment adapted for the creature's biology, and materials to establish a more permanent research base. We're calling them the Argani now, Maria explained during a video conference with consortium leadership. They've accepted the name through our symbolic communication system, and they've been giving me access to more of their family groups. There are complex social structures connecting multiple family units. And they still accept your presence? A consortium director asked incredulously. More than accept, Maria replied. They actively seek my company, Kira especially. Our initial medical intervention created a bond that appears similar to their parent-child relationships, though obviously with unique cross-species characteristics. 3 months into what was supposed to be a 2-day survey mission, Maria had established a small but functional research outpost in the territory of Kira's family. The Argani protected it fiercely from other predators, and in return, Maria provided medical care, shared food preparations, and engaged in what could only be described as cultural exchange. They have art, she reported one day, displaying images of intricate patterns that the Argani created by arranging naturally phosphorescent fungi. And music. They create rhythm patterns through vocalizations that vary between family groups. It's primitive by human standards, but undeniably cultural expression. The Krillians, initially skeptical observers, became active participants in the research. Captain Lesta even requested permission to visit the surface, a request that was cautiously approved after Maria had prepared the Argani for the new visitor. They understand you're different from me, Maria told Captain Lesta as the Krillian cautiously exited her landing craft. But they know you're associated with me, so they'll accept you. The Krillian captain stood rigidly as Kira, now fully healed and grown larger, approached to inspect her. The creature's sensory ridge extended fully, sampling the Krillian's unfamiliar scent. After a tense moment, Kira made the purring sound and backed away, signaling acceptance. Extraordinary, Captain Lesta whispered, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly. We've been watching them tear apart our probes for years, and now they never saw your probes as potential allies, Maria explained. Just unfamiliar intruders. Context matters enormously to them. As the months passed, more researchers joined Maria on the surface, each carefully introduced to the Argani through Maria and Kira. A small scientific community developed, dedicated to understanding these remarkable creatures and the complex ecosystem of Argon Prime. 6 months after her landing, Maria presented a formal report to the consortium, the Krillian Scientific Directorate, and representatives from 12 other spacefaring species. The presentation included extensive video documentation, biological analyses, and preliminary linguistic mapping of Argani communication. What began as an ecological survey has become something much more profound, she told the assembled officials. The Argani represent a form of intelligence we've never encountered before. Predatory, territorial, and yet deeply social, capable of recognizing and reciprocating altruistic behavior across species boundaries. The implications extended far beyond Argon Prime. Scientific teams began revisiting data from other worlds where apparent apex predators had been documented, looking for signs they might have misinterpreted. For Maria, however, the most significant development was personal. Kira, now recognized as a young adult by Argani standards, had become not just a subject of study, but a companion. They spent days exploring together, with Kira showing Maria territories and phenomena no human would have discovered alone. Through their increasingly sophisticated communication system, they shared concepts, experiences, and even what might be called humor. Kira asked about the stars today. Maria recorded in her journal one night. I showed the symbols for distance, for other worlds. I think it understood that I came from somewhere beyond Argon Prime. Its response was thoughtful. It created a new symbol combination that might translate roughly as together beyond home. I'm not sure if it was asking a question or making a statement. A year after Maria's landing, the consortium officially reclassified Argon Prime from hostile ecosystem investigation to intelligent species cultural exchange. The Argani, through Maria and the communication system they'd developed together, expressed interest in learning more about humans and other species. Kira became the first Argani to express desire to leave the planet's surface. After months of preparation, including the development of a specialized transport vessel that could accommodate its biology, Kira accompanied Maria to the Krillian station in orbit. Captain Lestha, who had become a regular visitor to the surface, welcomed them aboard. "From betting on your survival time to hosting you as honored guests," she remarked to Maria. "The universe contains more surprises than any of us imagined." From the observation deck, Kira gazed at Argon Prime from above for the first time. Its 6 eyes blinked in their characteristic ripple pattern, and its sensory ridge quivered with excitement. Through the communication device attached to its harness, it transmitted a series of symbols. "Beautiful home, small universe large." Maria smiled, placing her hand on Kira's armored hide, a gesture that had become natural over their months together. "Yes," she agreed, "and we've only just begun to explore it." The story of Maria Santos and Kira spread throughout human space and beyond. What had begun with a seemingly suicidal landing on a death world had transformed scientific understanding of intelligence, predation, and the potential for cross-species bonds. The Terran Exploration Consortium established a permanent research center on Argon Prime, with Maria as its director. More Argani families became involved in the cultural exchange, with some young adults like Kira expressing interest in the wider universe beyond their world. Zorath, the once skeptical Krillian biologist, published a groundbreaking paper titled "Predation and Partnership: Redefining Intelligence Parameters in Hostile Ecosystem Species." It became required reading at xenobiology institutes throughout known space. Ensign Rytha, who had once bet on Maria, lasting only 2 hours on the surface, became an advocate for the Argani, arguing for their recognition as a sapient species, with all the protections that status conferred. And Captain Lestha, in her final report before rotating back to Krillian space, wrote, "We came to observe a death world. We witnessed instead the birth of understanding between species that by all conventional wisdom should never have connected." The human Maria Santos, through an act of compassion that defied survival logic, transformed our comprehension of intelligence, society, and the infinite adaptability of life. For Maria herself, the transformation was deeply personal. She had arrived on Argon Prime as a scientist seeking data. She remained as something between ambassador, teacher, student, and family member to creatures that had evolved on a world that seemed designed to kill. Kira continued to grow, eventually reaching the full, impressive size of an adult Argani. Yet, no matter how large it became, it still occasionally curled its massive body around Maria in that same gesture that had first astonished the watching Krillians, like a child finding comfort with its mother. "I came to study apex predators," Maria often told new researchers who joined the Argon Prime project. "Instead, I found that even the most seemingly alien life forms share something fundamental with us: the capacity to recognize care, to reciprocate trust, and to form bonds that transcend biology." 2 years after her landing, Maria stood with Kira at the edge of a territory they hadn't yet explored together. Beyond the familiar forests lay vast plains where other Argani family groups roamed, groups that hadn't yet encountered humans. "Ready for a new adventure?" Maria asked, using both words and the symbolic language they'd developed. Kira's response came through the translation device, but also through the gentle pressure of its massive head against Maria's shoulder, a gesture that needed no translation at all. "Together discover always." And with that, the human and the apex predator walked side by side into the unknown. rewriting the story of what was possible when fear gave way to understanding. When predator and prey recognized something deeper than their biological roles. The universal possibility of connection. On the Krillian station above, a new group of scientists watched their progress through high-resolution scanners. A junior observer, recently arrived from Krillian space, watched in amazement as Maria and the massive predator navigated the landscape in perfect coordination. "I don't understand," the junior observer commented. "Our historical data showed these creatures killed everything that entered their territory. How is this possible?" Captain Lestha, who had extended her rotation specifically to continue the Argon Prime research, answered with what had become her favorite human expression. One that perfectly captured the lesson of Maria Santos and her unlikely bond with Kira. "They thought the apex predator captured her. Then it curled up like a child with its mother. And in that moment, everything we thought we knew about the universe changed.